Welcome back, guys. And this one, of course, is 10 things that I hate about my Honda Insight. There are things that I don't like. So the first thing that I hate about the Honda Insight is for this first generation, it was a limited run. Only 17,000 of these cars were made in total. And that's the US, I believe. And that's not a lot. They were wanting to make at least 6,000 a year, but in total, there's 17,000 of these things made, and that was starting in 2000 for the US, which means these things are very rare, very hard to find, and that just really sucks, and I hate that there's not more of these out here. And that brings me to number 2, the second thing I hate. Because of that, it makes it really difficult to find parts and pieces for this car for people like me that want to get this car and somewhat restore it, make it workable. There's a lot of parts for this car that are just really hard or impossible to find because it was, 2000s that this was made. Along with that, there's not a whole lot made. So number 3 is here in the back of the Insight for the things that I hate about this car. The battery. That's right, the battery underneath here. I mean, I like the battery, that it has a battery. It's the very first hybrid car, but the type of battery that they used is not good. Right back here, right behind that cover, this is an NiOH, or a nickel metal hydroxide, I believe it is, battery. And compared to what we have nowadays with the lithium ion batteries, this thing is just weak. It's heavy for what it is. It is not powerful. But then again, remember, this is the very first hybrid car. And again, this thing was limited production, only 17,000 made, which means no one has made any sort of swappable lithium. I mean, they are working on it. Join the community for these cars because this has a cult following. They are in the process of tinkering, making something work there, but the sad thing is those batteries, they're terrible, and I hate that they're terrible. Now, number 4 for things that I hate about my Insight may not be in all Insights. The Insights came in 2 trims, with and without AC. Now, if you did get one with AC, like I have here in all of its glory, I have AC, even though it doesn't say AC on here, it's just Econ. If you use AC in a normal car, it takes up horsepower. It runs a belt off the engine, and it uses horsepower from that. It takes horsepower from the engine, and it uses to run the compressor, blah, blah, blah. But the thing I'm trying to get at is the engine in this car is a dinky little engine, 3-cylinder. I think it's like a 1.3 liter engine, less than 100 horsepower. And when you turn on AC, it sucks up so much of that power that, one, the main thing for this car, MPG, is completely lost. That goes down the drain. And 2, the horsepower and torque for this car gets really, really bad. If I ever have my AC running, I have to turn it off when I go up hills or try to speed up in any way because it sucks so much power from this small engine. And talking about MPG, number 5 is weather. Yes, you. Not the rain, but hot and cold. It affects the MPG in this car by so much it's crazy. In the summertime, when it's about 90 degrees, I get my best MPG in this car because, if you guys know, hotter air into the car means better MPG. So, in the summer months when it's 90, I'm getting like 67, 68 MPG when it's a really hot day. Not normal, but just cruising around on the highway, really good MPG. And then, once winter time comes around and the temperatures drop to like 40, maybe even 50, it tanks. But it's not just that. going from 90 to about 70 degrees, my MPG drops 5 to 6 MPG just in that small change. Normal cars don't do that, but this small economy car really does do that. If you guys have this car, you know what number 6 is, and it is leaks. That's right, leaks. This car is well known for the wet seatbelt problem. Now this is a leak coming from the roof rails up top. It leaks down, trickles down, and gets onto the seatbelt where it winds up on the inside of this pillar, and as you pull it out, your seatbelt is wet. And that is because of this panel up here that goes all the way down there. There's pins on the inside of this, and the rubber around those pins no longer seals after a long time. Water gets down there and then drains down to your seatbelt. The second leak comes from the hatch. Of course, there's a lot of areas for water to come down. If something gets blocked, it'll go on the inside, and something I recently did a video on right here, there's actually sealant that they use to cover this part of the car to this part of the car. They use a sealant, and you know, after so many years and so many miles, that stuff cracks. And that stuff cracks, water gets in it, and it trickles down, and you get the inside of your hatch back here starts to get wet on the carpeted area. So you have leaks in the carpeted area back here, you have leaks on the seat belt in here. Some people have leaks in other places, but those are the two main ones. This car is not good when it comes to leaks. Number 7, I may have already mentioned it already when it came to the AC, but this car is not a powerhouse by any means. The electric battery in the back gives it about 13 horsepower, added to the itty-bitty engine up front, which is less than 100 horsepower, and of course, given how many years old and this thing's got almost 200,000 miles, some people run it to 400,000. I mentioned all that in my last video, 10 things I love about this car. It does last forever, but the thing is, it is not a powerhouse. This is a very slow, weak car. So if you want to pass someone, forget about passing someone. If you're going up a big hill, you're obviously going to start using your battery. Over here, you're going to get assist from your battery, but you may not be able to even keep up with the speed limit if you're on the highway, because this car is slow and it is not powerful coming from what it is. This thing is really great at, like, I would say about 50 miles per hour on a flat surface. You can get amazing MPG. But if you have to pass someone, if you have to go fast, if you have to go up a hill, beware, because this does not have the kahunas to get up and go. For number 8, I am nitpicking just a little bit. This comes for, I guess, not me personally, but the small community that have this car. There is a modification that you can do. It's basically giving you more control over the battery and the car itself. So what people do is they modify the ECU to give themselves the ability to actually control the battery, which means that you have control over things that you would love to have control over, such as the battery, the auto off, the regenerative braking. All the stuff that this car has are things that would be awesome to control, and I hate that you can't do that from the factory, that you have to modify it to do. Because sometimes when you're driving down the road, you're not doing anything, you're not regenerating anything, and you take your foot off the brake or off the gas and you'll get a little bit of regen. Some people like, hey, I want more regen. I want 100% regen as soon as I take my foot off the gas. And some people have issues with the auto stop. Sometimes people want auto stop to turn on or off, however you look at that. They want the auto off feature at a sooner time frame. Say you're coasting down a hill, some people want to turn the auto stop feature on to save even more gas. Some people just turn off their cars for hypermilling, but having that ability to do those things, along with actually using the battery. Some people have modified it so you can use just the battery. Some of the newer Prius can do that. You can do EV mode and drive directly off the battery. It doesn't get you very far, but just being able to do that, especially from a standstill, is so cool. And it would be awesome if you could do that. And number 9, again, sitting here in the car, you're definitely going to notice this if you have this car, but the smallness of this car affects your driving experience, such as driving down the freeway and you get passed by a semi. This car shakes. If you've got high winds, this car moves. And because of the narrow tires that you have, if you have grooves or divots in the road that you're driving in, it'll catch those grooves really easily and it'll jerk your steering wheel around a little bit. So those are things that are kind of sketchy, but things you really got to look out for. And last but not least, number 10. The 10th thing that I hate about this car, and if you've driven it, these are the first things you're going to notice. Number 1, there's no cruise control. Nothing. There's no cruise control. There's not even an option for cruise control for this car. For any of the first gen's year, there's no cruise control. Now, you can get a universal aftermarket one that I guess fits in this car. Apparently this one used to have it. There's even a hole over here, but someone ripped it out and did something wrong with that. But there's no cruise control, and it's really annoying because this is a commuter car. You're going to be spending a lot of time in this car because it's an amazing at MPG, and you just don't have it. And number 2, this car does not come... That's right. You guessed it. No armrest. It's really weird because over here, you've got a little lip. You can kind of set your arm on there. It's a really good level. You know, you're good there. But on the right-hand side, you've got your e-brake and nothing. It's not even ones that attach to the side. You've got your lumbar support on both sides, but you've got no armrest. And that really annoys a lot of people that you don't have that. There is, however, a mod, which is something I'm going to do as soon as I find the part. But Honda Civics have a very, very similar center console that you can pop in here that has an armrest that goes up to about here. Some people say it works beautifully. You just have to trim a little bit around the top so it like fits around here. But everything else fits in perfectly, the screws. But that's something I would have loved to have in this car. Cruise control is my number 1. I would love to have that for the amount of miles I've put on this car. Well, there you go, guys. That is 10 things that I hate about my Honda Insight. And if you missed the 10 things I love, go ahead and watch that video, because there are things that I love about this car, but there are things that I do hate. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Stick around for something else. I still don't have a job, so that's why videos are sparse. Sorry, I can't really do anything. This is the best I can do.